It is October 31st, 2024, and I'm hopping on here really quick to let y'all know that there is a new episode of Sanctioned available for my paid subscribers over on Substack and Patreon. Now, I know that I talk about this series a lot here on my videos on the free feed, so I wanted to actually leave a clip of it so that you could see what you're missing if you haven't signed up yet. And the reason that I made this series was because I wanted there to be something to go behind a paywall, really a kind of incentive for me asking you to sign up as a paid subscriber to support my work beyond just watching my videos and leaving comments and sharing them with your friends. As we know, these are very uncertain times that we're living in at the moment, and it makes your support for my work all too important, more important than it has ever been before. I'm so grateful for the work that I get to do, that I get to come on here and talk about these issues that I'm so passionate about with all of you, and know that you are passionate about it as well. So thank you to all of you who have signed up so far. If you're wondering why I have it on two different pages, it's really just a method of kind of spreading my work out. I mean, I could get banned anywhere at any time, so I'm kind of hedging my bets on a few different places. One of those is, of course, Substack. If you want to see my videos, if you want to get access to my work, to the exclusive content, and just have it sent right straight to your email, then Substack is the place for you. I have a Patreon, which is also a little bit more community-based, right? I have some different polls and Q&As there that you can sign up for at the $10 and above level. It's $10 a month. And that is more of a place where we can have more discourse and discussion. I know that there is still the comment section on Substack. I still obviously do respond to that. It's just a little bit different over on Patreon, where you're behind that paywall. So I do have those two options there, whichever one you feel like suits you best. If you have the time and the means to be able to sign up to become a paid subscriber, just know that it means so much to me. And every week we will be diving into a new topic over on Sanction. Sometimes I do it based on, a date, whether it's an anniversary of an event, say the Nord Stream attacks, or as was the case this week, I dive into a conversation that is being had, particularly the conversation over whether Trump would end U.S. support for the war in Ukraine if he is elected as the next president come next week. This election is already almost here. So we took a look at what Trump has said so far, what his rhetoric has been like on the campaign trail. We also got into his record, right? What did he do during his first term in office? And then the all too important question of who has he surrounded himself with since then? He clearly knows that maybe John Bolton isn't the best person to put in his cabinet, but are people like Mike Pompeo still entirely too close to Trump? I would argue that they are. We got into all of that and more, so let's take a listen to a clip from this week's episode of Sanctioned. Now we're all wondering, okay, how is Trump going to end this war, right? How is he going to get everything done? Well, one of his claims is that if he gets into office, if he is elected, he's going to pick up the phone and he's going to call Putin and Zelensky and tell them to figure it out. Yes, really.
As president-elect, if I win this election, the first thing I'm going to do is call up Zelensky and call up President Putin, and I'm going to say, you got to make a deal. This is crazy.
Now, see, this is what really frustrates me about Trump, because to act as though this war in Ukraine is literally just a fight between Ukraine and Russia is not only naive, but it also is doing a disservice to all of the involvement from NATO that we've seen in Ukraine over the last decade or so, right? The US is literally, along with their NATO allies, but primarily the US, right now they are propping up Kiev's government and military. So to act as though NATO is not a legitimate third party here in this conflict, to act as though it's not a NATO versus Russia proxy war just happening in Ukraine, does a disservice to the reality of the situation. And it's these times that I look at Trump and I go, okay, does he actually not understand this? Is he just campaigning on one thing, right? Campaigning on acting like he's going to strong arm Putin into whatever he wants because that's what he thinks that his voters want to hear? Or does he genuinely misunderstand this entire situation and not really have a grip on how we got to this point? It's not just because Joe Biden was in office. No, this has been a long-standing conflict that has gone on, and that includes primarily the fact that the U.S. decided to get involved. by supporting and helping make possible a government overthrow of the democratically elected president in Kiev back in 2014. Ever since then, the US has been intentionally arming Kiev's forces for a future conflict with Russia. Russia's not stupid, and they've had to watch the entire time as those Western-backed Kiev forces have been targeting the ethnic Russians in the Donbass region. If anyone thinks that this is just a phone call that can be made and that that's going to fix everything, unless that phone call is Zelensky giving a complete unconditional surrender to Russia, then I don't exactly think that Trump is paying attention to the reality of the situation. Also, we should add that it's not like Zelensky can just pick up the phone and call Putin, because he made it illegal for himself to have any direct negotiations with the Russian government for as long as Vladimir Putin is in office. We also have to remember that even if Trump in his heart of hearts really does want to see peace in Ukraine, even if that's his goal and he spends the entire 4 years in office, if he is reelected, fighting for it, we have to remember that Washington is still filled with neocons and hawks that would like nothing more than to see Russia's downfall. We also have to remember that Russia is very aware of the fact that when it comes to the previous agreements that have been made, say looking back at the Minsk Accords of 2014 and 2015, we had former German Chancellor Angela Merkel come out and reveal to the world that those agreements were used to buy time for the West to continue to arm and train Kiev's forces to prop them up for a future conflict with Russia. So that doesn't exactly make Russia want to come to the negotiating table and say, you know what, that sounds great. Let's enter into another agreement, knowing that it's more likely than not to be used to give Kiev more time to arm them and to train them and to get them ready for a future conflict with Russia. So that's one major problem that is not being dealt with. If there were just some agreement tomorrow, if Trump comes in and he gets Putin and Zelensky to say, okay, fine, we're freezing the conflict right here, we're having a ceasefire and pausing things, they're not dealing with the fact that there is nothing to stop the West from using the coming years to help Kiev rebuild its military and prepare for more war with Russia. So Trump keeps talking about a deal. And then the question becomes, okay, what does he have in mind? Now, according to the reports that have been circulating in recent weeks, it seems as though a potential Trump administration would be looking at trying to push to freeze the conflict as is, right? Just literally just freeze everything right now, a ceasefire right now, a temporary one, which again goes back to what I was saying about not dealing with any of the underlying problems. But it's interesting when you get the feedback from people who have worked in his administration previously and see what they're saying about it. Because Fred Fleets, a former CIA analyst who served in Trump's White House, told the Financial Times that he believes Trump would try to bring back a version of the failed Minsk agreements. But in this version, NATO membership could be taken off the table for a number of years to get Russia to negotiate and, quote, we freeze the conflict. Ukraine does not cede any territory. They don't give up their territorial claims. And we have negotiations with the understanding there probably won't be a final agreement until Putin leaves the stage. Like, what? This is your idea of how things are going to work and how you're going to deal with the war, is you're just going to freeze everything and wait for Putin to die? It's not a solution. It does not sound like any kind of resolution here whatsoever. Why would Russia on its end say, okay, yeah, let's just pause everything? Again, give NATO more time to rearm and rebuild Kiev and their military, while at the same time letting Kiev still keep their territorial claims to all of the territory that they want to get back that they've lost since the 1990s. Why have they lost it? Because the US got involved and decided to meddle and to back a coup of the democratically elected president in Kiev. It's like, why would Russia agree to that? Literally, what is in it for them? If you want to watch the full video and you want access to the other episodes of Sanction that have come out so far, as well as future weekly episodes, be sure to check out my page on Substack. That's rachelblevins.substack.com. The episodes are also available over on my page on Patreon. That's patreon.com/rachelblevins. As always, thank y'all so much for all of your support, and I'll see you next time.